Kingmaker time, go. I guess that's how the recording starts. Good, great, excellent.
You should definitely start with that.
I mean, I did. I hit record. There, I edit these so little. Just cut out things that absolutely must be cut out. Fix the audio a little. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Kingmaker time. A fortnight has passed so fast. Crazy.
Sessions in 1 week. Ugh.
It's real good. It's real good. But it's time for more of that sweet, sweet Kingmaker. Thank you all for your support. Well, my tom-tom still hurts a little bit. I may be quick BRB during the role play a couple times during this one. It was really good curry though. Really good curry though. Anyway,
Was it
thank
spicy?
you. It was. Spicy is the good food. And y'all were talking about sushi, and I wanted to try to find somewhere to get sushi, and there's nowhere to get sushi anywhere near me, and I didn't want to spend like an exorbitant amount of money out of pocket on DoorDash or get out of the house, frankly. So Thai it was, but we're rambling. Last time, God, what did we do? We did a lot of stuff happened. We started organizing the things. I might just immediately send it to who wants to go first for the in-character reflection for the hero point. Yeah.
I'll go.
All right. Hit it, my lord.
Mine will kind of run back into where we left off our RP, but it's cool. I won't get it out of the way because I'm kind of in your boat. Not feeling so great this morning. Bit of a bad morning. So, but here we are. So
Hey.
let's do it. So, I'm playing Cato Sicarius, son of Saul Sicarius, the swashbuckler, fighter, monk, multi-class machine of death now. And that you can actually read into that 2 different ways.
Oh, you can too. Haha. I get it.
Ah,
I understood
all
that
right.
reference.
Jumping into my reflection. As the council meeting concluded, each attendee vacated the meeting room one by one until only Cato remained alone. Shifting the crown on his head with his left hand, he examined his right. It was a strange sensation. This form, while it was no longer truly his own, felt more natural to him, more familiar. He knew why, of course. It was only natural. Cato finally steps out of the council meeting chamber himself and makes his way out to the courtyard. A couple of workers bow respectively as he passes by, before returning to their work, tirelessly trying to remove the unwanted first world flora from the castle grounds. Something that seemed like an endless job. For every piece of plant life or foliage they removed, another one seemed to sprout up. Cato shakes his head, wondering if this will ever end. He approaches a large fountain in the center of the courtyard and peers into the water. A familiar and comfortable face stares back at him. Deep down, part of him wanted to sustain this magic and remain in this form forever. It felt right. It felt proper. But deep down, he knew it was a lie. It had been many days since Cato had communed with Charon. Almost a week since he had his frightening dream reliving the memories of his demise and rebirth. Since then, his nights had been calm, peaceful. Perhaps the horseman spoke the truth, that he did not seek anything in particular, and would be content to just leave Cato be. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't put the conversation out of his mind. All those who do my work will also carry with them my blessing. What did he mean by that? Was there more power that could be his? And what more would it cost him? Cato knew nothing when it came to such things. For once, he felt woefully ill-equipped, like a fish out of water. He needed someone who did have knowledge of beings like this, someone who could perhaps guide him in navigating this road. He knew of only one person who might be able to help, and even that was a risk, for in order to do so, he would need to reveal himself to another, his true self. And after a few moments of deliberating, Cato takes a deep breath and heads into town, seeking the Hell Knight commander.
And today we're going to talk about evil things. Hooray! Take your hero point, my guy. Anybody want to volunteer for second seas? Don't make me throw the D3 at y'all. I'll do it.
I'm just still thrown off by not going first. That I don't. My whole world just doesn't make sense.
Classic.
So mine takes place, I guess, before that, during kind of the fast forward skip of the few days while we were waiting for Senny to get back before the meeting. Okay, so a knock came at the door. It opened slightly. Yes, the voice answered, one eye peering around the corner. Delivery for you, sir. The books you ordered. That certainly took long enough. One moment. The door closed. Arcturus hurriedly grabbed one of his robes from the wardrobe and threw it over his work. He studied it quickly to ensure it was fully covered. Looking around his otherwise meticulously organized room, it looked out of place, undoubtedly, but it's all he could do for now. The door fully opened. Yes, please put them there. He pointed to the floor in the corner, nearest to the entrance. The delivery man gave a confused look at the desk, which seemed the obvious place for a collection of books, before giving an internal shrug and complying with the instructions. Your service is appreciated, Arcturus stated rather plainly as he paid the man for his work, ushering him quickly to the door he came in through. Though he had waited some time for these to arrive, there was no time for them now. He locked the door again and pulled the robe from the desk. What remained of his mask lay open, the gold exterior separated from the inlay that rests against his head. This time, however, there was an additional, rather macabre piece. A layer of skin rested along the gold, an eye socket lined up perfectly with the eye hole of the mask, and continuing on to cover the remainder of the interior entirely. Bakken had done incredible work, getting it to the right size and preventing further decay. Arcturus had done the rest. He knew he recalled the remainder of the process correctly. He pored over the pages enough to know it even without the spellbook now. Yet nothing was happening. Once more he closed his eyes and called upon the appropriate spell as he had the past couple of days. Despite the display and the continued effort, the project still laid there, totally inert. He began to pace. There was a certain shame he couldn't help but feel over all of this. It was disgusting, dirty work. Maybe this was a mistake. His mind flashed back to Ionia crashing down to the ground in front of him, of the fleeting moments where he had believed she was gone. He remembered coming upon her, eyes stabbed out, bleeding profusely. No, we need to be stronger. I need to be stronger. Suddenly he felt much younger even than his mind typically carried him to. He was a child, recalling the fantasies his mind concocted when he would look around amongst his peers and see nobody like himself. Times where he had felt weaker and searched for some kind of strength. There was something different about him, and his paler skin always served as a reminder. On most issues, he would go to his father to find comfort. Their bond was strong and only grew stronger over time. But on this, he only encouraged harder work. If people look down on you, if they doubt you, you need to work hard enough to show them how wrong they are to do so. He remembered that lesson and all of its permutations being instilled in him from a very young age. In times of turmoil, he often turned to it. But for right now, his mind didn't stop there. Instead, as he did then, he went to his mother. You are different, Arcturus. We are from Cheliax. There aren't many of us here. She would follow that up with fantastic stories about their homeland. Where his father spoke of Cheliax with quiet regret, his mother would regale him with tales of Chelish sorcerers, bending the realities of the world around them. That is the sort of power that we descend from. Those around here are threatened by it, and you must do your best to be patient with them. In moments of childish frustration, Arcturus would imagine himself with such power, conjuring flames and bending reality with only his will. Nothing ever came of it, of course, and it had been many years since his mind had wandered in that direction. Still, he thought of the Hell Knights, whose knowledge he was using now. He heard his mother's voice again, telling one of her stories. Arcturus concentrated on that voice, on his own blood. A metaphysical awareness of his own place and time stretched out around him, and there, deep within himself, suddenly, he felt a spark. It was hard to explain, hard to imagine, but there it was, and there it sat. Harnessing the feeling for just a moment, he did the only thing he knew how to do. He called upon Abadar for assistance. With that, a far more familiar divine power surged from the internal spark, carrying it outward and pouring it into the husk that occupied his mask. It was a brilliant display of golden divine energy, but with an unsettling blackened hue. Arcturus dropped to his knees, sweating intensely, his wings pulled close. After a moment, he regained his footing and cautiously examined what he had done. He worried that something had been damaged, but everything was still intact. The eye of the mask, however, was different. An uncomfortable shadow occupied the space where you could once freely see through. The Inquisitor smiled wickedly, refashioning the two components of the mask together and placing it on his head once more. As expected, his vision wasn't impaired looking through it, but it would be obvious to anybody looking at it from the other side that something had changed. That would invite questions he could do without. Then it hit him. Turning to the freshly delivered books, he realized what could be done. But there would be a lot of work between then and now. Until it was complete, he would simply have to do without his mask for a while. At one time, that would have bothered him, but not now. No, right now, Arcturus couldn't be any more eager to show his face and his lineage to the world. I'm playing that character, Arcturus, an Inquisitor of Abadar, of Chelish descent. And that's my reflection.
I always just wait for that. I'm playing that guy. Good. Well done. A+, 10 out of 10, Chelish sorcery. Even more evil things. Good. Very good. Oh. Hero points all around. And do we send it on to Whomst next? That came out backwards. It turns out Among Us is a very addictive game, and I didn't sleep much last night. Also, stop judging me. But
Dibs on going last.
All right. I guess that's me then. I'm playing Ionia Essel, a half human, half orc, half dragon occultist. I know what I said. And I've got a little thing written up as well. Rich hues of red blended with oranges, purples, and crimson dance across the rooftops. Ionia watches from her window, observing the line where the skies touch the earth. The beauty only intensified the anticipation of what would inevitably come next, any moment now. The girl's eyes dart across the skyline, attempting to capture every detail, every color. In an instant, it all vanishes into black. She struggles to hold on to that image, a perfect sunset over a perfect town. Indeed, the Reclaimers had built something great, and it pained her that she couldn't take in the full extent of her accomplishments in more than 11-minute bursts. She lets out a heavy sigh. It had been little more than half a fortnight, and while Ionia had nearly gotten used to seeing from a third-person perspective, each time her mind eye blinked out, she relived that moment, the moment she had lost her eyes. No, the moment she had taken them. Arcturus still seemed cross with her. If she was being honest with herself, she understood. There had been times she was upset with herself. It was all she could do to keep repeating that she'd done what she had to do, but she clenched her fist, her nails digging into her palms. A warm, wet sensation follows, welling in the palm of her hand before a single droplet of blood rolls down her wrist. She opens her hand, turning it as if to look at it. That she had not quite gotten used to yet. It was easy to forget all of the physical changes she had recently undergone. They seemed so irrelevant in comparison to the loss of her sight. I need a better solution, she thinks aloud. As if in response, a cold, wet nose gently pushes against her side, and a heavy paw falls into place along the crook of her arm. Ionia lowers herself so that she would be looking into the dog's eyes, if she had any. Minoru rests his heavy head on Ionia's shoulder. She runs her hands through the dog's long white fur. She turns her palm to face her, the fur laying across her hand. Perhaps there is a better solution after all. I'm playing that character.
Inti Girl doesn't need math. Inti Girl has dragon powers. All the math you need. Good. Very good. Hero point. I usually forget to say hero point for the third person, but we didn't this time. As we set it on, I guess, to the art I can only describe as Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn, but make it Celtic. Oh, Senia.
Oh, Senya. I am the only person today that is not prepared with a written reflection, but I shall make a valiant attempt at describing who I am and what I do. I am Senya, the last black stag, newly endowed powers of I am now essentially the real stag lord. A couple of sessions ago, when Senya was basically grilled by what she believes to be the avatar of Erastil, about whether or not she'd be ready to take on what comes next. And then last session, she meets the ghost of one of her vanquished enemies, and she's very incensed that like this ghost is here. And basically, last session for her turned into a whole debate about like what must be done about the Tiger Lord's threat. She's very adamant about making sure they pay, and she's had to explain herself and present her argument to the court, so to speak. And yeah, she's ready. She's ready to wage war, and she's ready to protect that which has been given her to her protection. And she will do what must be done in order to protect those things and those people. She is, as far as mechanically, she is a Geminid Invoker, Barbarian, and partly Rough Rider. So here we are.
All right, fair enough. 4 hero points. I was thinking about this a couple days ago. I realize I probably haven't roleplayed Grom as much as I should, given how the Totem Guide archetype works. I will add that NPC to the roster for further interactions, because damn it, it's important. It completely went over my head, and then we talked about it, then it went over my head again, and then we talked about it, then it went over my head again, and circle of forgetfulness. But I'll fix it now.
Well, to be fair, like I myself kind of forget that I can roleplay with Grom, and I should definitely make a bigger effort of like involving Grom in my like decisions, and like just using him as a board to kind of like talk to. I don't know if that makes sense.
I mean, he's got the intelligence of a familiar, I think. And I like half read it. I got hung on the part that like, wait, this has spell slots? It doesn't have spell slots, but it would if you were a caster. Like for a druid, the Totem Guide is dope. But indeed, is smart, can communicate as if you shared a language, is important. But we'll deal with that later. For now, the floor is y'all's. Like I said before, the floating skip time forward ahead a year button exists.
So also, yeah, I think we've all been a little, I know I've also been a little, we've had, 2 sessions since we've come back, and as far as I know, Prince is still locked in the bedroom.
Yeah, unless you'd like to put him somewhere else.
I honestly, he'd slipped my mind. So I think we're all guilty of, yeah, we're all just horrible. Like, we're all just the worst parents. So.
He's your child.
No, I mean, Sania neglecting Grom, Kato neglecting Prince, Artoris neglecting everyone.
I mean, I feel like I'm really good at including Minoru. So
well, you've had a year and a bit to practice at it. So, meh. Anyway.
So I guess from there is a good place to pick up. Megaris, just as you remove the hat of disguise and your new form hits him, he kind of cocks his head.
Yeah, so I guess I'll take this opportunity, because I've had some time to think about it and discuss it with the others of what this form, the more of the finer details of what this form looks like. And I think the most appropriate way to do so would be think of like the less exaggerated features of a Thanademon. Does that make sense, Tommy?
Yeah, totally. So like a baby Grim Reaper, almost like a Damphir, that kind of thing. Or are we even worse?
Well, I looked at the new 2E art for the Thanademon, and it looks really sick. With like the horns and the 2E has if you look at the 2E version, I can even post the picture here for you.
That would be dope.
Put it in banter. So what I'm thinking is like reduce the exaggeration of some of the features by maybe a factor of like half. So like smaller horns, smaller, less like grisly death looking face, you know, but like sort of resembling similar, almost like still, because it's only half, so still like human, but with like these sort of features starting to like manifest, I guess
Sure.
you could say.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
So
Let me then, I guess, first things first. Do I recognize the... Well, you look like death warmed up. How did this happen exactly?
your guess is as good as mine, though I have a theory or two. So I don't know what you've been told about so far, if you've conversed with any of the others about the decisive battle we fought against the Lich about a week ago.
He just
He
kind of
brought-
shakes his head.
As we traversed the tomb of Vorticai, we came upon a chamber that was trapped, no way to proceed safely. One of our, I think it was Ionia, she being the most knowledgeable about such things, was able to discern that in order to pass through safely, there was a ritual we could undergo. Not wanting to put any of my companions at any risk, I chose to take up that burden and perform the ritual. That did not seem to carry with it any immediate repercussions, however, and we pressed forward. When the inevitable battle against the Lich and his forces did break out in full, it was bloody, and Cato pauses for a minute as he runs his hand down his chest over his clothes where he still kind of felt the phantom pain of the curved elven blade. I fell in that battle, pierced through my heart by the one you knew as Kalira. Somehow, in the aftermath of the fight, while my companions were victorious, I was restored. It would appear that I had gained the attention of the one who did this, as he gestures to his face, and was given a second chance at life. However, there seems to have been a cost involved with that. Which is why I've actually brought you here today. I do not know what this means. I do not know what I've gotten myself into, truly. I would be lying if I said I wasn't both curious and frightened all at the same time.
Magaris nods real slow as he takes all this in. Well,
The being visited me briefly before restoring me to life. Charon was his name. He mentioned that he did not require anything of me when pressed on the matter of this. He just said that I needed to live, I needed to thrive, and that all repayments would be, or all would be repaid in doing so. But I would be lying if I said I did not doubt in his honesty in that regard.
Magaris nods real slow. That seems to track. Death, after all, requires life to flourish, and within this... He leans, pinches his nose again. Wonderful patch of Galarian. Well, more of the latter than the former. establishing a formal state here, as he begins to like draw a line in the air with his finger, establishes the proliferation of our kind, establishes more births, establishes more deaths, and then the line kind of like establishes more fuel for the fire, more souls for death himself. You have... There's a big inhale, big exhale. The eyes of a powerful being are upon you, and the legends of the various horsemen, of which there have been many. The title is, well, much like a king or any other rulership. It's passed down. They vie for them, they fight for them. When one is killed, another is appointed. They need only us to thrive and take what they want. There are many tales of... They'll help you in wartime, but everyone dead on the battlefield becomes fuel for their fires. Help you live in order to harvest the souls of everyone who lives under you in death. Now, granted, unless you've... And he kind of looks you up, down. I seriously doubt you've... The daemons don't prefer anything binding. I rather assume you have not signed any formal contract, been, geezed, compulsed, or anything in between to force people to worship such things. So that doesn't mean necessarily everyone within Concordia is doomed to be hunted by daemons in Abaddon. That said...
Shakes his head.
That said, when Charon comes... God damn it. When Charon comes to collect, I imagine the toll will be heavy. As for you, have you... He kind of leans in. Considered lichdom. Immortality might be a good choice for you. I myself, as he draws his bastard sword and sets it on, like, on his lap, I suppose. The General of Vengeance serves my needs for now, until my vengeance is wrought upon these, as he, like, white knuckles the hilt of the sword. But my heart, and by many a contract my soul, as Pentagram comes up from under his robes, belongs to the Prince of Darkness. I know exactly where I'm going. I made that choice, and I will be remade as a general in his armies when my time here is complete. You, however, I imagine the toll will be steep.
Cato scratches his chin. Charon did mention one final thing before he left. Or before I left, I guess, the River Styx. That though he required nothing of me, should I choose to do his work, should I choose to forward his goals actively, that the boons that he grants those would be great. Would such appeasement help after my inevitable demise in the future?
It's certainly possible. in my time, in my early days, this was very far from here, mind you. One of my very first missions was, he begins drumming on the table as like the nostalgia hits him, and he kind of like sits in it for a moment. Cultists of Rovagog. Their camp was found. We did as the law required. They were put to death. I'm sure the most devout were given... He, like, grits his teeth as he... Just rewards from their master. And one imagines you would as well. With that in mind, given that your master does not... Well, he doesn't much care for you, so much as what you can do. And giving you a small, mortal human power on this world, when his power, where he comes from, much more vast, is investing a copper to get platinum in return. Certainly it could be useful. We have enemies on all sides, harnessing the power of death itself against them. He nods pretty, satisfactorily. I'm sure many would die in your wake.
I am more, and in this moment, I am more concerned with the ultimate fate of my soul. I wonder if I could make myself useful enough that I would be granted a reprieve when the time comes. A soul too valuable to just consume.
Oh, well, most certainly. Simply how do I phrase this? The relationship dynamic you've entered into is not the kindest on your side, but certainly please your new master. Your master, and he kind of like spreads his arms out wide. The rewards in the afterlife will be
Better.
much better than being consumed, yes.
Cato grabs the crown, places it back on his head, and with a shimmer, the veil goes back up.
And I will assume the Church of Abadar does not know who has granted you this power.
The one who leads our church, Arcturus, he knows some of what we speak of today. Not, I have spared him the details, but he has seen me, as have the other members of the High Council, the ones you know. I'm sure you've already met Senya,
Who?
our resident black Kelid barbarian.
Oh, yes, her. I hear rumors all throughout our fine city. Something about communing with spirits. He kind of like, the derision begins to drip off of his voice as he says this.
She is a superstitious one, for sure. She was raised by the barbarian tribes in this area. But she has proved her worth in helping us establish our society here 100 times fold.
And I'm sure, actually, you sound much like Karen there. Imagine yourself as a pawn on his chessboard. You're useful. If you can make your way across, perhaps you will be knighted. In return, your pawns, equally useful in fueling the cause of, and he begins to draw a pyramid in the air. You see how it trickles down. In any case, I ask about the Church of Abaddar because, well, everything the Horseman of Death wants it's not so much counter to the Church of Abaddar, but it's I can't find the best word for it. Do I say like a leech, if you will? Yes. Stuck to the bottom of civilization, pulling from civilization without helping civilization at all. Further, it's not unheard of for the various demonic hordes to pull the souls of those, say, for example, rightfully, lawfully destined to live perfect lives within that magnificent city of Axis itself, to consume them as resources. I would not tell our axiomatic friend anything what you just told me.
I suspect you are right in that regard.
Fortunately, your tongue seems silver enough. You theoretically can dodge those bullets, maybe not the actual ones if it comes to that, but we digress.
Actually, that remains to be seen. Well, that's potentially a level 20 question to ask. But I also digress. I had one final. I appreciate your insight and you taking the time to indulge me here. I felt there was truly no one else I could turn to in this regard. Having you here, despite these circumstances that brought you here, has been fortuitous.
Oh, certainly, and indeed, oaths have been sworn. Now I, Megaris Varn, swear unto you as one humanoid to another. I have no desire to see the only thing standing between the things that go bump in the wilderness and civilization from falling. Therefore, your secret is safe with me. He nods. You had something else?
Yes. So with this secret that you now hold in your possession, you belong to a small, trusted inner circle. As I mentioned, Arcturus knows what he knows. Not to the extent we have discussed, but he holds the same secret that you swore before the conversation began, as do the two other members of the council. You now sit in that same company. As such, it goes without saying that I feel you can be trusted, and it should go without saying that I acknowledge your capabilities. I cannot help but think back at well, it wasn't the first time we met, but it was the first time I truly got to know you. Arcturus and I had arrived at your fort, and you had invited us to dine with you. It was the night that Amalia was killed. I'm sure it was a very satisfactory event for you, having come all this way, finally succeeding in your goal.
He nods. As he does so, like, you bring this up and his demeanor shifts, like, on a dime from just, like, casually talking to as if you had suddenly cornered a tiger. His whole body tenses up.
Please relax. I only mean to compliment you on the goings on of that night. Although I am well versed in political theatry, the display you put on before us, the discipline that your men showed in their marching and in their formations, it was Yes, it was a sight to behold for all present. As you are probably aware, we are building an army of our own to defend these borders. We have learned all too late that we cannot hope to protect all of our people ourselves. And so it has become painfully clear that we must build an army of Concordia. We must drill them, we must discipline them, we must get them capable of fighting wars against our enemies without the direct intervention of myself or my present or without those who I fight alongside daily. And as such, I can think of after the display that you put forward at the Hell Knight at your old keep, I can think of no better person to create that type of discipline here in Concordia. Would you accept the offer of training and preparing our armies to battle whatever threats may arise from within or without? Within and without?
He smiles real big. Of course.
There will be a few that will be disappointed by the news. There were a lot of viable candidates for this role, but I can think of none who has the experience and capabilities as you do. And as I mentioned, you now belong to a very close and small inner circle. So I felt it only appropriate that you also reap the benefits of being in said circle.
He nods. When the others are disappointed, just simply ask them their qualifications. Ask them how many different military academies they've either been to, studied at, or, well, there was talk at one point of me staying behind at Citadel Bridge to administer the Hell Knight test. But what can I say? I do so love my work and am easily more qualified than anyone else here. Yes, I will take this rabble and we'll make a proper army out of them in no time.
In regards to your question to me about finding eligible candidates to undergo your more grueling of training and whatever that may entail, because I don't think Cato has the knowledge specific to knowing what Hell Knight initiation is. I would ask that any candidates be vetted through the council first. If you, in your work, you will be in the most, you will be in the best of position to obviously identify potential candidates, but before any go through are approached and given the option, we would like them to be cleared by myself and the other members first, just so that we have insight on what is going on.
He nods.
Well, thank you, my friend. I have kept you here long enough. Do you require anything in the immediate?
No, simply room to work. I'll begin in the morning.
Very good. Oh, and of course, one thing I can, since you've done so much and sworn so much to me today, I will also make a pledge to you. Though I know it may pain you for me to bring it up again, just as you have sworn vengeance against your enemy, as you make our enemies your enemies, we too shall make your enemies our enemy. I think that made sense.
He smiles. Does that mean my first campaign will be against the Sylvan squatters in the region?
We are currently attempting a diplomatic solution to hopefully prevent unnecessary casualties. However, it has been made clear that should diplomatic attempts fail, more drastic measures would need to be taken. For now, I say hold your blade in that regard and do not take any action against those within our borders at this time, but you will be kept in the loop of any developments in that regard.
He nods. With that, he draws the sword, or rather picks the sword up, sheathes it, stands up, and summarily walks out.
All right, I am all done.
Meanwhile, everyone else, Sep.
Well, so last time toward the end, we kind of finished that that conversation and then did the scrying on Soot Scale the next day. So I assume that conversation happened. Now we're in the next day, and the scrying has happened again.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I guess what circumstance? Did you do that alone? Did Ionia do that alone?
Soot Scale was on a different day, right?
It was the next day.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who wants to be there, I'm not like being sneaky about it.
Yeah, Senya. I think Senya will go.
To the scrying or to the
Follow up.
Well, after the scrying, I think once you guys find him, I think maybe.
Yeah, I think we would have all. I don't see a reason why we all wouldn't have at least seen the scrying. I know I probably won't go to the estate, but
okay. So I guess if we're gonna just kind of hand wave the scrying, then
We already did the scene of the scrying, technically.
well,
Yeah,
I mean,
y'all have seen what you've seen, and like at least Artoris and Ionia were there. If the other two wanted to be there, they could be.
okay.
so we can pick up at the end of the scrying.
And Artoris would take a deep breath and I suppose I should go to him.
Somebody certainly should. It can't be easy. What he's
How-
going through.
How long has he been down there by himself? It must be days, weeks even. I understand giving someone their space to grieve, but yeah, I think it's been long enough that I'm worried about him.
At a certain point, it's negligence.
Out of character, my legal brain just goes firing when you say that word.
Yeah, I believe it.
Negligence. Gross negligence.
Indeed. Well, if seem fitting that I would be the one to talk with him. And to be clear, out of character, I am inviting you to disagree, Senya. I am not trying to steal it.
Right.
Okay.
Perhaps I should go with you. Having gone through what he has gone, I may be able to offer some words of kindness that might help him.
Arcturus kind of pauses and he sort of pieces together the parallels that you're talking about. Perhaps it would be best if you would go alone then.
Senya nods.
Rile him up with talks of genocide against his enemies.
Arcturus,
Well, I think we vanquished his enemies.
Arcturus gives a kind of solemn nod, and then he heads back toward the temple.
So, Senya's gonna go find Grom and take off towards the Sootscale Estates.
Okie dokie. Off you go. Senya goes riding out. There's, that thing that I said I needed to do. We need to do that now because that was just you and Grom. Grom immediately puts forth that he would also like to be the general of Concordia. It would be, it'd be
God damn it.
hilarious. Led by a horse, the king of. I mean, it wouldn't be bad for a cavalry regiment if I'm being entirely true.
I mean, Senya is kind of like has plans of having a Fade division in this army.
I'll tell him got to use guidance, and the old boy can use guidance as a spell like his full round. That's dope. Targeting itself as master, has other spells. A totem guide can speak with its master as though the two shared a common language, and it can speak with other animals. It can speak with all the horses. You just have a cavalry division that's just a lot of horses. It's dope. It's like in Skyrim when you accidentally shoot the horse and then you die, but there's 50,000 of them and they're trained for war. Okay, cool. So you go riding off. It's quite a trip. Shorter now with the first road, and down here at the road y'all have paved, and that the Order of the Nail has paved for you the rest of the way. As you turn up the river, Grom is pretty quiet for the first couple, for the first leg of the journey. I suppose you stay, you probably stay at Thornburg and then cut this way. It's in the second leg that he's. Well, what do you intend to say to him?
Senya kind of gives it some thought.
Wow, Grom sounds like McGarris.
I literally just said the same thing.
No, Magaris, he talks like this, and he's big and uppity, and look at me, I'm a fancy noble boy, whereas Grom is deeper and slower and reverent. Totem guide. Haha.
I suppose letting him know that every patch of darkness, every storm, every storm passes and every night turns to day. And after some time of grief, it will pass, and only, for me at least, fond memories have remained of my people. It took me a long time to get past that grief. And perhaps on some days, but that wound is still raw for me. But each day it gets a little bit easier.
There's a gentle feeling of, well, you guys don't have an empathic link. Grom nods. Says nothing and continues riding on to eventually. The Soot Scale estates themselves are a lot more horse accessible now, because in the intervening year and change since y'all first came here, it's gone from a cavern to a big old mining complex. So there's a bunch of ramps everywhere. So Grom can, there's no squeezing through any kind of passages. The place is built for mine carts to come up and then get things to the Shrike to then transport all of the ore that's pulled from here to, basically just Concordia, or to, rather, Rooston, but theoretically all throughout everywhere else once. Things in Restov can get a little more chill. In any case, you ride down, you do eventually reach, after lots of people stopping and waving and big Paragon Fable Run energy happening all over the place, as someone who's very important has arrived amongst the lower class that live within Concordia, the working folk, right? The ancient dwarven truly settlement has been, as much as possible, preserved. Some of it looks a little different, some of it's up to date. It's kind of got big Markarth energy. I played too much Skyrim, clearly. All these old ass dwarven buildings that are now populated by people who don't have that engineering prowess a couple thousand odd years later. The chief is just kind of out where you start to get away from the tenements themselves, and where you start getting to the dark and the quiet and go a little farther on, and who knows what you'll find. Grom's... Is it? No, you definitely bought him horseshoes. So the sound of Grom moving's pretty loud on cavern floors. Obviously, the chief would hear you. But no response as you approach where you know he is, and you can see him just leaning down. Seems to be he's writing something, just frantically scribbling on a piece of paper as you approach.
Senya kind of takes a step closer and calls out to him, Chief Suits Kale.
He slowly looks up, turns. Oh, it's you. I suppose the council will need me for some meeting or something.
Senya closes her eyes and takes a deep breath. That's not why I'm here. I'm sorry that, and she kind of takes the closer step and kind of kneels to be closer to his stature. And she's kind of has her head bowed. I'm sorry that we were not able to save your people. I'm sorry that we were too late. And she kind of trails off and
how's your draconic?
non-existent.
Okay, fair. That's what I thought. So it's, as you kneel down, you can see what he's still kind of absently writing. Seems to be the same, not letters, not runes, over and over and over and over and over and over again. There are a couple other pieces of paper scattered around the room. I suppose you'd know, huh? You and I, essentially the same person now. You're a little taller and more herbivore-like, I suppose, but he kind of just shrugs. I was just really
Us-
hoping everything I built would come back.
I suppose we are, in some ways, the same. Both the last of our people. I guess the reason that I'm here is I'm here to offer words of comfort and to let a friend know that I know the feeling, and to let a friend know that all things come to pass, and dark things come to pass. And at the end of that darkness, there will be some light. And there will be days, I suppose, days like this, where you'll feel like the darkness never ends. But as time goes on, those dark days do diminish. I won't be lying if I say that I still don't feel the pang of guilt and the pang of missing my people. But focus on the good things, and that will help you get through that darkness. And I suppose I'm here to let a friend know that if that friend needs someone to talk to, and if that friend needs someone to lean on, I'm here to help.
As the conversation has gone on, he's slowly stopped scratching the same runes over and over and over again. He kind of just loses track of what he's writing with, and it clatters down and rolls away. We came from nothing. Various tribes hunted by anyone who could kick us, or anyone who gets reincarnated and ends up looking like one of us and now thinks it is their right to exploit us. This is how they deal with what they have been dealt, because they are lesser now. He just leans his head into his hands. Since I was old enough to think, never did I ever think I would have so many answer to my banner. So many live in safety. So many have food, have friends with the big folk, frankly, as he looks up at you, as now he's gotten to stand up. Even you kneeling, you're still probably head, shoulders, and ribs above him. People come and people go. People never become friends with creatures that look like me, to say nothing of those damned mites. Some, I don't know why I put stock in it, but you probably don't understand what. And he pulls the paper over. Some damned fae told me if I wrote that I was sorry 1,000 times, it would rebuild everything that I'd lost. 684, as he kind of waves at the paper that's laying all over the place. He shrugs as you move through this part of the cavern. You're smart nature energy. It's not hard for you to say. The fungi that has sprouted down here, some of it is bioluminescent. That will happen in this part of the world, but some of it that's bioluminescent and seems to be gently humming in 3-part harmony in the background. That probably came from the first world. Who knows? Nothing is the same here. Maybe the Fae are right. Maybe it's just 1,000 grains of dust in an empty cup.
What did the Fae exactly say?
Like I said, right, I'm sorry, 1,000 times.
And who was this Fae?
Shrugs. Not sure. Little... I don't even remember what they're called. Little walking mushroom thing. Think it with somewhere in the Darklands.
Would Sanya be able... She's not very good at, like, sensing motives. If anything, she'd probably, like, believe that superstition.
Knowledge, nature, or local?
Okay, she can do nature.
Can she, though? Whoo! Damn. Okie dokie. So, how to spin this, how to frame this. So the thing about the Fae, they are creatures of exaggerations. They don't understand when the joke is happening, so on and so forth. They also, like, kind of the origin on Galarian, especially in this part of the world, of the, dare I say, fairy tales. The big, exaggerated stories that are supposed to have some moral baked in, generally speaking, have some origin, at least like the very first ones. Obviously, sentient creatures can get them and run with them and just, like, be creative, make a story, and the moral of that story is don't be a horrible person or eat sweets after dark or whatever. But the very first ones come from the first world as, like, a literal, this happened once in the first world, and then in response, someone so-and-so did this, and their problem was solved. The right, I'm sorry 1,000 times, make 1,000 apologies. It does track on the order of, say you pissed off one of the eldest, one of the, on the order of a horseman of the apocalypse or a demon lord or so on, level outsider, it would be within their power to, like, geese somebody with some sort of make this big, elaborate apology, and then I will forgive you, and then bind someone to do it. It's, when it happened then, in this particular, like, scenario, it's a horrible, terrible, disgusting thing, then eventually filtering down to, like, tales you tell your kids to make sure they behave.
So, do I understand you correctly, Tommy, that, like, he has a compulsion to write this? Or...
No. It's the original story could have come from something like that.
But
big exaggerated
okay.
thing in the first world that has been boiled down into, like, Fae mythology and then brought to him.
Okay, so like some Fae basically, like, told him to do this thing, but, like, it's more of a prank than anything.
A prank, or like God, why can't I come up with one of these aphorisms? There's so many of them. I guess, like, the throw salt over your shoulder to ward off the devil.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, like a superstitious thing, like, do this thing for the thing to go away or for something not to happen, basically.
Precisely.
Okay.
Cookies for Santa. There we go. Bam.
There we go. Yeah.
Whoa, wait, hold on. Now that works.
We always left them beer and cheese in my family.
Yeah, every morning the cookies are eaten. So, like, how do you
explain that?
He explained that by talking about Tommy and his dad's sweet tooth, and the fact that when I was living at home, we'd go buy a thing of Oreos, and between my father and I, they'd be gone in like 30 minutes. It's no wonder I'm diabetic.
I think we all have the same problem here. Anyways, getting sidetracked. Okay. Sonia kind of looks over at the pieces of paper strewn all over the place and kind of pieces together what Suitscale's been doing, and she kind of places a hand on his shoulder and says, with a bit of a slight smile once she understands what's happened, "I think you've written down enough apologies, Chief. The Fae, while I think whoever told you this may have believed that that would solve your problems, it's nothing more than a superstition. I'm afraid that won't bring your people back, but know that you are more than just your people. Know that you are part of this, part of these lands. You are part of Concordia, and you have friends, and you have people that respect you and will lay down their lives for you. You don't have to stay here. And perhaps you shouldn't. This place will only fester that wound and continue bringing bad memories back. Perhaps if you were to travel somewhere else and stay away from this place for a little while, that wound will heal."
He nods. Don't know where. I hear when those who dare venture beyond and explore waves generally in the direction of where the caverns eventually inexorably go down to where only terrifying horrors lurk. Something about how your old nemesis are sniffing at our border. I wouldn't necessarily want to travel alone.
Senya kind of thinks she might have forgive me, I'm not that great with words, but what I was trying to say is you're always welcome at Rooston, and I'm sure that there will be a place for you there, or any of the other settlements that are within Concordia.
He nods.
But perhaps staying here is not the best thing for you. Would you?
I'm literally stabbing myself in my own kidney, aren't I? He nods. Point taken. He gets up, kind of like stretches for presumably the first time in a little while. You can hear all the little bones in his body crack. Yeah, why not? Maybe I'll go on a nice road trip. See all these little towns that I'm hearing are springing up throughout these lands.
Just don't mess with any birds on
Yeah,
the way.
leave the ravens alone.
Oh, ravens are delicious. Why would I not? Ghost of Artoris and Gato.
Sorry, I couldn't resist the
No,
joke.
it's you're fine. At this point, the ghost of X is just a meme. Ghost of Dugoth appears. Anyway.
Senya pulls her sword.
This is now an entirely different session. No longer wholesome. Now we're ghost busted. Fuck yeah.
If you would have company, Chief, I'd offer to travel with you.
He nods.
Senya and Sitscale going on a road trip.
Senya will
Somebody
very
make a comic strip.
very well, Chief. I will wait for you. Let you gather your things, and I shall go with you where you feel like.
He nods. You know, technically, I guess I'm not the chief anymore, am I? What with the severe lack of tribe?
You'll always be chief in my heart.
He kind of like begins to like he is firing up to soliloquy, and then you say that, and that's kind of the tipping point where I suppose he doesn't have tear ducts, right? Given that he's reptilian, but his equivalent of the turning point into the breakdown happens, and he kind of just moves forward and wraps his little arms around your like quad, which is at this point as big as he is, and down he goes into it. I guess the noise is like a hissing, like a kind of thing.
Senya kind of silently wraps her arms around him and just kind of consolingly pats him on his back and just lets him let it out, let it all out.
It's about 10 minutes of that. Y'all pack up. He gets his gear, and he doesn't have a lot of like stuff so much. Most of the stuff he has been left here to like serve the mining operation, other than just like a few trinkets here and there. As he clambers up into the saddle, he turns back and says, you know, I've never really thought too much about doing anything other than managing a tribe or a mining operation, but I imagine military work is about the same as managing a tribe of kobolds. If you've ever considered maybe hiring on a general, I might be interested. He kind of like leans forward.
Senya kind of cocks her head and, well, I suppose that would be up to the remainder of the council to make that decision. Quite a few candidates have thrown their hat in the ring.
He nods. Oh, fair enough. I suppose I better get my resume in as soon as possible.
Well, I suppose we should get back to Rooston.
Yeah, alrighty. And y'all make the trip back as soon as you leave the caverns. Before you get back, like, there's probably there would be a major road from the mining operation. As Grom makes his way down, before your very eyes, a little... It's the most purpliest purple you've ever seen in your whole life, so much so that you almost wouldn't call it that color. Like, vibrant, and as the light hits it, seems to, like, break and shift into the reds and blues and then back into purple. Clearly a first world flower just springing up, presumably from the first world itself. Grom steps on it, as like doesn't have the ability to stop. It springs up, you see it, he's moving, and it kind of like bursts forth in a reds and blues and purples shower of, I use butterflies a lot, dragonflies, shall we say. Seems appropriate for the kobold. They kind of flutter around for a little while before dipping off in the direction of the Shrike River.
Well, that was a strangely beautiful sight, wouldn't you say, Grom?
Grom's real quiet as he sees it. Like, the dragonflies fly past. The chief's just wide-eyed. This is the first time he's seen anything like this, and it's all very brand new for him. Grom just quiet and reverent, almost. As y'all eventually make it back to Concordia. God damn it, I did it again. As y'all eventually make it back to Rooston. Anybody else got anybody else they want to go have a conversation with?
So Oleg.
Oh, hey, it's me. I have a new voice this time too. Oh shit.
Tommy, you need to go back and watch
It's been
session.
a while since I've seen Svetlana.
You need to go back and watch
Better
session
name.
1 and 2 and remember what your Oleg voice is, because it
this
was
is
real
why
good.
take
I don't
notes.
remember.
I got nothing. He had stats in the beginning of book 2 if you just absolutely wanted to put him on the council somewhere, and a couple of like recommended positions for him, but they were just so bad that I just forgot he existed.
Oof.
F in the chat for that poor lad. Anyway,
I mean,
the
he
chief
told them
returns.
to
Once you guys get
all.
back to Rooston, he kind of just like nods, hugs, fades off into the distance. It probably takes about a day or so. Probably like day and change to get back. As soon as you get back, all over the place in town where bulletin boards would go up, there have been notices posted by order of the highest authority in Concordia, Cato, and all his titles. There's a lot of twisty, pretty language at first about like serving your country and fighting foes within or without, to immediately follow with all able-bodied humanoids age 15 and up in human years who aren't actually essential workers, who don't like, for whom the infrastructure of Concordia would not fall apart if they quit working, are required to report to some like where a training ground has been set up for formal training in Concordia's army. All
Conscription. Wonderful.
splits from that to all of the same age who are required to report on like the equivalent of their Sunday.
Huh.
Looks like everyone else will be reporting every day.
I just want to say I didn't vote for this guy.
Topical.
Noted.
There's almost immediately next to it, there's another poster, just the be all you can be, join the Hell Knight Order of the Nail. In parentheticals, no Fae allowed.
Isn't it the pirate?
Speaking of Fae,
Or did he switch?
God damn it. He's the one that doesn't like chaos and bad magics, and I forget which one it is because I can never keep these damn things straight. Was it the Pyre?
Fire.
It's Pyre.
I'm so glad y'all took notes.
The poster is recruiting for the Order of Fire. To be clear.
To be clear.
Well, there's two posters.
There's
One is
actually
for
a
the
second Hell
Concordian
Knight has
army.
moved in.
One is the army poster. And the
Heating
other
nail
is...
empire posters.
That's hilarious. Okay, well, I mean, he did say that he would run all candidates by us, so I trust him.
Is it reasonable to assume that among my 9 sessions of 11-minute bursts of vision throughout the day that I've seen these posters?
Yeah, almost certainly.
I'm going to take one of the ones for the Pyre, and I'm going to go find Cato.
And so you do. I imagine he's pretty easy to find. I don't know
He's
if
hiding.
Cato's still sulking in his room anymore, but
Cato, where are you?
Hold on.
Scry Cato, go.
1 second.
Well, Go ahead and give me a perception if you just for funsies. Why not? This is the boat we've landed in.
Can I have Minoru assist me with his
certainly.
scent?
Mm.
I had to. I was son of a biscuit.
Okay, where are you?
Hiding
You catch
behind
him.
a pillar somewhere, but half of his cloak is hanging out. One of his demonic wings hangs out. He's not used to concealing those.
Kato would be found. Yeah, since he was hiding, he was probably hiding in. Well, it wasn't hiding, but he was like trying to stay out of. After seeing the poster, he's like, "Oh, I should probably lay low for avoid Ionia's wrath." I'm gonna go hang out at the. I'm gonna do a walk through the Colosseum. She'd never suspect to look for me there.
We're gonna do another little hide and seek with the Fey Dragons, which I imagine is probably how I find him.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Angry stomping into the Colosseum. Are you like out in the open? Or are you behind a door? Where are you?
I'm just walking the halls, and the no events are in session, so I'm just bemusing.
Angry stomping towards you, and then I'm just gonna shove the poster into your chest and say, "Do you want to explain this?"
Not particularly.
Let me rephrase. Explain this.
All right. But you're going to need to calm down. You're at an 11 right now. I'm going to need you at like a 7.
Your explanation will affect that.
Okay. So, goes without saying, we need an army. No one in the kingdom has more experience in the creation and deployment and leading of an army than our very close and dear friend, Megaris.
Very close. And who? I've never met this man.
Yes, well, if I recall, that was by your choice.
Do you remember why?
Yes, but I think you're...
Does it maybe have something to do with the fact that he heads a faction? What's it called? Oh yeah, the Order of the Pyre, which he seems to be recruiting for in our nation, that specifically hunts down and destroys people like Senya and myself and Dazia and Jubilost and Bakken, most of our allies?
Right now, his eyes are focused on the Jabberwock and the Fey incursion. He has no interest in you or Senya or any of our citizens.
Here,
because
read this poster to me. What does it say here?
What does it specifically say, Tommy?
The poster is the burning red keep emblem is just like right on the center of it. Their creed, reason's flame consumes the shadows, corruption in infernal and then common right under. Then like here's the picture, and then basically it reads as propaganda, just lots of like be all you can be, help purge Concordia and the lands beyond of foul and fanatical, blasphemous entities that would seek it and your undoing.
Exactly. Are you a fanatical and blasphemous entity that would seek the undoing of our kingdom and its citizens? I don't think so.
In the eyes of the Order of the Pyre?
Not when this Order of the Pyre, at least this company of them, report to me.
And who do you think his loyalty is to first?
I don't think it has to be a competition.
So you support this?
He has sworn his allegiance to us, to this land, to our people. Our people include the likes of you, the likes of Buck, and the likes of Senya.
This proves otherwise. This shows that his allegiance is not to our people.
He is simply doing what he feels needs.
It literally says here he wants to exterminate people like us.
You're reading into something that's not there. unless people like you can be classified as a threat to Concordia, which I think is a stretch.
You are unbelievable.
Maybe if you got to know the guy. Sorry, what was that?
Fix this.
Maybe if you got to know the guy, you would come to understand him as Artoris and I do.
Artoris and you are not at risk of this. Motioning at the poster.
Neither are you. But
Staring at you.
fine.
Empty eye sockets.
I will speak to him. I do, as much as I appreciate his gusto and enthusiasm, his method, after one day, seem a little on the extreme side. I did ask him to essentially repeat the disciplined and ordered image that he displayed to us at the Hell Knight Fort within our own borders. But I mean, conscription and this, I don't know, wasn't exactly what I had in mind. All right, I'll see if he can dial it back a little bit on the fanatical recruiting end. But understand, though I wish I had hoped to have been the one to bring this up to you and the others before, it looks like he acted a lot faster than I expected. What, did he have these posters literally sitting in his room or something? I don't know. Already made and ready to go. But I did offer Megaris a seat on our council to lead our military forces. So,
unbelievable.
With that said, I will speak to him and see if I can rein in some of the zealotry that he has displayed.
After that big speech you gave about being on Senya's side, she's been a friend for so long, you would never betray her trust, her goals are your goals. I cannot believe you would do this.
I don't understand. I mean, I understand why you think what you do, but it is unfounded. It is. He has done nothing, and they will do nothing to harm you or any of the people that Concordia calls citizens. That is without question.
How are you so sure?
Because if he does, he would have to answer to me.
This order literally hunts down people like Senya and I to kill them. I don't understand how you don't get that.
Because his sights are focused on those that are an actual threat. There's a difference between someone like you and someone like Senya and someone like Armeg and the hags or whatever it is that he keeps company with. One, both are, kind of this. Both of them may be seen as like similar in one regard, but the key difference is one is an actual threat to society and established people and
from his perspective, so are we.
I wouldn't make that assumption. Like I said, you don't even know the guy.
I don't need to.
I do. Artoris does. We have assessed him. We have judged him.
When he turns his gaze toward Senya and I and our other allies, we'll see whose side you fall on. And then I just walk away.
Wow. Kato is just like, oh my god. He's like, sweat's beating down his forehead as he wipes his what's his face? It's like, I think I'm more afraid of her than an entire Hell Knight army. Okay. I need to go find Megaris and clarify a few points. And Kato sets off to find. I assume he's going to go to this location that was instructed on these posters to see what he sees there.
Okay. And so you do, and where would be a good place for this? There's somewhere where there's a lot of open space. Probably like within the walls and in like a place very close to said walls where a very clear like representation of Concordia's power can be seen, and just like an open space had been cleared. There's a long like rows and rows and rows of people. Basically at this point it's just like get organized, name, right, race, right, age, right, any like basic medical histories, qualifications, things like that. Long proceedings of lines that are like starting to form. Megaris is, I guess I will go ahead and just call him his bodyguard, because that's what they are now. They, through the line, make their way in like full Hell Knight regalia, kind of just looking imposing as they walk, but occasionally from time to time they will stop and you'll watch one of them like extend their hand and seem to concentrate. Hard to tell under the just like pitch black armor. Then move on a little farther. There's at one point a like fairy dragon turns the corner and the conjuration of a tiny illusion starts to fire up, and then the Hell Knight turns and the fairy dragon just dips as fast as possible. Probably for the first time you've ever seen one of these things actually afraid. It's the sea parts for Concordia's king, and it's easy enough for you to get to the front where Megaris and a couple of his bodyguard are just organizing, trying to get everything down. There's, as you get there, who is there? Who we got? Who haven't we talked to in a while? How's about, as you get there, there is the familiar face of a particularly buff changeling woman whom Kalira had drummed up so long ago.
Oops.
There were a few left.
Name, and she just kind of grunts out her name. And you looks up and down. But before she gets a chance to say anything else, infantry noted. Oh, my lord. And Kato immediately stands up. The Hell Knights do the same. They tag their armor and it goes away to, as if to like make themselves vulnerable before you, and all three of them bow in unison. The logistics are underway. We should be down to training by theoretically the top of next week. It's a long
Kato
process.
Surveys the area and can't help but be a little impressed. He's definitely he nods to Megaris and says, "At ease. May I have a word with you just for a few moments?" And he gestures off like away from the group.
Of course. Then he points to somebody and says that so-and-so's name, and so-and-so goes to take his spot at the table, and the line proceeds. Is everything okay?
Yes and no. First of all, though I can certainly appreciate your enthusiasm getting straight to work, was conscription really necessary?
Conscription? And he like puts a hand up to his chest. No, it's not. Let me be more forthwith. We sit in the middle of a vast wilderness with enemies on all sides. Not conscription, merely phase 1 of the plan. Ensure everyone is capable of defending themselves. Train auxiliaries, if you will. ideally, at the end of this, we will have enough of a formal military that we will never need them, and those who show the most promise will be given grand offers. I just would prefer if, well, an army of the undead comes knocking at your walls, everyone know which end of the spear is the pointy one and how to form a proper shield wall. Is this... I don't understand.
That's understandable. There's been I am just addressing some concerns that a few have brought forward. But I mean, I understand that we have certainly been lax in ensuring that the citizens of this kingdom could rightfully defend themselves in the event of an attack. We unfortunately learned that all too well when this city was sacked not too long ago. I just wanted to make sure I had your intentions clear is all.
No.
It's very good.
No conscription here. I simply just... Well, to fight tigers, I must make sure I can train dragons. You understand.
I do. One final point. And he takes out the Hell Knight recruitment poster that Ionia had slammed into his chest with a +8 on her strength. That hurt a lot.
Kato's sternum is just irrevocably shattered.
Might I request that you conduct this operation with a little more discretion?
No?
What I would ask of you is train the auxiliaries, find those suitable to form a standing army, and then from within the ranks of that army, bring forward any candidates you would like inducted into. And he gestures to the letter, as opposed to public recruitment.
He kind of like stops, processes everything you've just said. I take it someone took offense to this. I didn't.
I wouldn't say offense. Do I need to make a bluff check on that?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. I wouldn't say offense, but there are varying people of varying cultures here, and I just want to make sure that you are reaching the right people with your message instead of trying to cast a wide net that may not be as effective. Okay, here it goes.
He nods. Oh, of course, I understand completely. You see, in the early days of the founding of my order, we would cast a very wide, as you say, net to inspire in those who stand against us a certain sense of dread, I suppose. Yes. It really helps them tell on themselves. It's quite efficient, really. And he, proceeds to wind up a tale about how in the early days of the founding of his order in a little village in he's from Cheliax, or just a little village in Isger where we were sent there to a similar cause as this. It is not uncommon for those such as myself to be called in to train those such as, and he points back towards the din of people signing up. Rooted out a whole cult of some, I don't remember the name, some great water spirit. I don't know. They're dead now.
Well, you do not need to worry about that. We have an intelligence operation within our borders that is, and one of their sole jobs is to root out corruption and anything that might threaten us from within the shadows. I
should very much like to meet this intelligence operation if you'd be willing to, and he interlaces his fingers together. I imagine the relationship could be a fruitful one, working together for greater results. You understand?
They tend to like to keep to themselves, but I will bring it up. With that said, back on the matter at hand. As such, as much as I said, appreciate your efforts, I would ask that you contain your efforts to the task at hand, and as I said, keep any well, just kind of repeating what Cato said previously, where he would like Megaris to refrain from publicly recruiting any members for the order, and instead kind of talent scout candidates from within the those that he trains as part of the military instead.
He nods. He seems to accept the general, like, this is what you want, and so he will do it kind of thing. Well,
I've taken up far too much of your time. You have a lot of work to do, I can see, so...
You don't know the half. He bows.
I will leave you to it, and bows back.
Oh, one last thing. And he stops, turns. Your Rusi population, they speak of some tribal leader. As they come through the line, say they cannot formally sign up anything without her say so. Any thoughts on this?
We are currently... She is a good friend of ours who helped us immensely in the fight against Vorticai and his forces. She has unfortunately gone missing. Technically, they are her people. We have offered them refuge here when the Tiger Lords, I think it was the Tiger Lords, or it might have been the Trolls. I don't know. It's been so long ago. Some evil marauding force rampaged nearby their home. We offered them refuge here. I would consider them honorary citizens. However, they have not, I would not say that they are fully integrated and of the same obligation that the rest are.
Nods.
There was going to be discussion about a proper integration. Unfortunately, as you mentioned, or as you've learned, their leader, the one who led them prior to them coming here, has gone missing, and we are currently trying to locate her. We suspect foul play, but we're still investigating.
Nods
so
again.
Just with that in mind, I trust you will handle that appropriately.
Of course. So, to be clear, they are not citizens of Concordia. They are
honorary citizens. They are guests, if you will, with let's say negotiations underway to hammer out the details of their citizenship.
So be it. Well, I suppose let me know how that turns out, and I'll let you know how far I can get them. They built quite impressively. He kind of like reaches up and grabs his own shoulder. If the agents of law were built so broad and tall, it would just make things so much easier. In any case, I must. And bows, turns, starts walking back. As he turns the corner, he tags the amulet and the armor unfolds.
Right before he steps away, sorry, I was going to say one last thing. If he wouldn't mind dispatching one of his retinue to collect the Hell Knight recruitment papers, as I'm not sure where they have all been placed around the city. I'm sure one of his would be able to retrieve them all much quicker.
Nods, and somebody goes off to actually nods, and as you turn to leave, he confers with one of the other Hell Knights who's like stationed at the table. Said Hell Knight, what is let me see if Hell Knight orders have the thing I think they might have. They do not. Okay. A particularly, like, sizable raven, shall we say, comes to, like, land on the shoulder, or not the shoulder, but on the wrist of the guy Megaris is talking to. Megaris, like, raps on the desk real hard once, and everybody stops. He kind of, like, motions over to the guy who's talking to the raven, and before your very eyes, the raven's head starts to, like, swell, and a couple little red horns out. The beak pushes in to resemble a much more humanoid face, and before you, the thing polymorphs into an imp. The crowd gasps. You notice the Hell Knights walking in the crowd just as this is happening immediately, like, drop everything and start waving their hands across the crowd. Nothing happens in response. The imp flies off, you imagine, to do away with the posters.
Huh. I keep learning more and more about these Hell Knights every day.
Well, now they're a big part of town, so I can just hear Esker squeeing at the top of his lungs. We're gonna learn so much. So much.
Never thought the Hell Knight Fortress would come to us.
Boom!
I think I have a good first candidate for...
Start promoting all of his people.
No, good first candidate for the order for him to test.
Oh,
Artoris Vilmeyer. I guess, how am I even gonna test people? I can't, though. I don't have anybody who can summon a devil of any CR. I have 6 dudes with swords. I'll figure it out. We'll rituals happen, but
It'll be sometime.
Hand wave.
I'm
hand
hoping with
waving
the-
happens. That's part of the ritual. You wave your hands and shit happens.
I'm hoping with the stipulations I put in place, it'll be some time before that becomes an actual need.
I'd like to find Parlavash if we're moving to the next thing.
Okay, yeah, should be easy enough to find.
And remind me, does Parlavash actually speak?
Yes, fairy dragons have, like, he's been jovial meme energy, but a fairy dragon has, like, some of the most baller stats of familiars you can get in Pathfinder. It's like intelligence 16, wisdom 14, charisma 16, speaks common, draconic, generally speaking elven and sylvan, and they're also telepathic.
Nice. Okay.
They're V powerful. Finding him probably means finding Jubilost. Just,
Alright, fair enough.
and turn the corner, go where he is. Oh, my dear! I'm surprised to see you here. Aren't you older than 15 and not doing anything better? Shouldn't you be in the army now? His eyes just
funny.
burn daggers.
Yes, I actually just came from a meeting with Cato about that exact thing. Needless to say, I'm not very happy about it. Seems he has chosen Megaris Vorn, the Hell Knight, as the new general.
No. Parlavash, like, wilts immediately. I suppose we will have the most efficient army in all of these lands, but
We'll have something, perhaps a civil war.
Oh, you have plans? Where do I sign?
Well, I think we need to wait and see how things play out, but I would like to keep a very close eye on our new general. And Parlavash, I've got an offer for you.
And spins and then speaks in common because he can speak common. Just, yes!
Seeing as how the role of general has been filled, I'd still like to offer you some position. How would you like to be my right hand?
He immediately illusions a copy of your right hand over his body and flies next to it.
Excellent. Your friends have proven themselves very useful in my line of work. I think we could work very well together.
And the hand makes excited dragon noises as it waves a bunch, I guess, and spins around. And, well, at least one of us has more gainful employment. Splendid, wonderful. When do the Inquisitions begin? I ask because perhaps it's time to not live here anymore. I guess technically I'm above board. I just... the proclivities of myself, my own various interests, and that's just so damn zealous, Dione. Why would we do this? Why Megaris? Why not literally anyone else? Why not? And he just kind of like fumes.
I couldn't tell you. It is beyond me how on earth Cato could think this was a wise choice. He's given me his word that no harm will come to any of us, though I don't think our Hell Knight friend will be so easy to control. I don't think his loyalty is to Concordia.
You think his loyalty is to his own order, yes?
How could it not be?
He nods. I would be more... You see, farther south, where it's more common for folks to require paramilitary to train their military, it's a whole complicated, convoluted process. The journey from commoner to soldier is never an easy one. You hear stories. You hear he like breathes in real hard. Insubordination punished with all manner of things. Now, mind you, this has been 150, 200 odd years ago, depending on who's counting, but there was a time when a Hell Knight division led an army against, by bald gods, I don't remember who. Point is, they lost over essentially a logistical error. The supply chain got fucked, and so they didn't have enough arrows, and so they had to retreat. Not only did they hang the man responsible for not turning in his homework, they also ordered every man under his command to line up, 1 in every 10 of them put to the sword, to encourage what? At this point, he kind of just trails off, stares at the floor.
Well, as I had said before, I think this matter will require a watchful eye and a firm hand.
No, I think we've got the firm hand, but no, watchful eye indeed. Perlavash polymorphs into just like I shouldn't say polymorph, he can't do that. Perlavash illusions into just a giant floating eye that begins to orbit your head like a much bigger iron stone. Yes, Perlavash, just like that. You and all of your friends.
Discretion is the key. Keep that in mind.
And also stay outside of, 60, 70 feet? They can sniff us out. That's the problem here. I know who I am, and I know my convictions. They stand opposite to that particular set of goals. Perlavash, on the other hand, might as well be made of, well, pure, unadulterated pixie sticks and madness. He'll light up like a candle anytime they try to detect any sort of chaotic anything. Which brings me to my next point, the overtures with our Sylvan citizens some of them have, especially with this new Hell Knight order, have just fled into the woods, assuming never to be seen again, but there are some willing to listen. The conversation is still, it's a work in progress, but we're working on it.
Well, that's news. I fear many of us will be uncomfortable with the new rule. We'll have to do our best to integrate.
Oh no, I suppose integration is the order of the day, the order of the next several days. On the plus side, I imagine all of Concordia's able-bodied citizens are about to become much more able-bodied. He kind of just like goes back to trailing off, grabs a drink, and downs it. Ah, to be young and in the army once again.
Indeed. At any rate, we should begin regular gatherings for training. We'll make sure that we're able to keep an eye on them without them keeping an eye on us.
He nods. On that note, it would behoove all of you, I suppose, if... And he kind of like leans into his hands. I suppose we've never actually talked about this, and frankly, I may already know this. Do we have a formal constitution? A governing body of laws? Technically, the Hell Knights will be bound to it. Granted, they will take every pain to find every loophole they can to further their own aims, but no, their loyalty is to their order, followed immediately by the lawful authority of, well, you and your friends, essentially. Suppose you need to have someone write up a contract, don't you?
It's an interesting point. We'll want to be sure that the contract favors our position and Megaris isn't involved in the writing of it.
He nods.
I'll speak with Cato about having such a document crafted.
That sounds quite wise, yes.
I suppose it would make sense for you to be involved in that as well, with your position as counselor.
I mean, I can certainly help. Why the damned Hell Knight? Why... Anyone else? Anyone else? And he just kind of like leans down, head in his hands. Just look at the bright side, Jubilost. Everyone's going to be so toned. It's going to be a wonderful place. Summer's right around the corner. He just bites his lip and has I won't make the noise because I'm afraid I'll blow everyone's speakers out, but just that big internal scream with a mouth closed. Pearl of Ash echoes it.
Well, at any rate, it's been pleasant seeing you both. I've got other matters to attend to.
Of course.
I'll be seeing you soon.
He nods. You know, we haven't heard anything from the Taxmaster during this whole run around.
All I've heard is scribble books.
He's doing a lot of reading. But if no one has any other pressing scenes, I do have something I might do.
Yeah, alrighty.
Do it.
Okay. So he would probably be going through one of his books, and his mask's out on his desk, and then all of a sudden he's in the middle of a sentence, and then he looks up, and he has that moment of realizing that he has forgotten something, and he goes to find how do we pronounce it? Zamanth?
Mm-hmm.
Would she be easy enough to find?
Yes, you find her in line with everybody else.
Okay.
She does hit that inhuman years. Her lifespan's a little, if I remember correct, shorter than a human's, but I'm not looking at it right now, so don't quote me. But she does fall in that what she does is not essential to the state running, therefore time to figure out who you are, what you are. This is around the time Artoris, like, as you turn the corner, an imp goes zooming over the heads of everyone who, like, look up with a mixture of fear and awe. It dives down on the ye old message board, rips off a poster which bears the Hell Knight insignia, and now your character is caught up with at least that far before it goes zoomy off another direction.
All right. Well, I would presume that I could piece together then that in my reclusion, there has been an appointment. Obviously, Artoris would be pleasantly surprised to see that happened basically just on its own, even without him needing to urge it to be the decision, and would also be immediately impressed with the expediency that the new general is showing in taking his duties seriously. So to that end, I wouldn't probably interfere with the flowing of the line, so I'll probably wait until Samantha's through with whatever business she has there, and then catch her on her way out.
Okay, fair enough. That takes a considerable while. Like the rest of that day, you go back, do the rest of your tasks, and then eventually you do around like dinner time catch up with her at Oleg's. She's still enough of a new entity that people look at her with the sense of like, dare I say, not confusion, just like a perplexion kind of thing. This is not somebody you see every day standing like head and shoulders over everyone, not seating at a table, but like standing next to it, just like absent-mindedly eating and drinking.
So I would, I have my wings kind of pulled in as much as possible to maintain my sort of old appearance. But obviously I haven't really formally talked with her since that happened. So, but I'm still a little confused about what happened. So I'm not looking to talk about it. But Samantha, it's been a few days. How are you adjusting to the city?
Not bad. Goes. She's picked up enough common. That's like step one when you're in a new land, is figure out how to communicate with people, that she can mostly figure it out.
Oh, of course. My apologies. And then I kind of wave Arbiter over to help with the communication. Though I must say your progress on learning my language is incredible for such a quick time.
Not much else to do. Not until tomorrow.
What begins tomorrow?
Training.
Any direction on what sort of training you'll be undergoing?
She shrugs. Not sure. Presumably horse unit, as she then like Arbiter gets over and she switches over. I imagine some form of cavalry, whatever it is that your knights in dark armor want to put together. Something to do anyway. Beats sitting around.
Well, your assistance and continued residence here is greatly appreciated. I've, of course, seen and been the beneficiary firsthand of your capabilities. You'll come with my highest recommendation to undergo more specialized training and have some sort of rank of leadership, if it's something you'd be interested in.
She nods. Yeah. Missed the Silver Fire. I never really had a chance to she like drums on the table. Her hoof kind of like stamps a little. Lowborn is the wrong word. Wrong name. Do you understand?
I'm not sure I do.
Too far, and she like holds up one hand. Ruling family holds up another hand. My family, and like pantomimes that this hand is much farther than the ruling family's hand. Doesn't matter. I know how to hit people where it hurts. I know how to stay light on my feet. Command could be fun.
Well, I've seen what you're capable of. And I don't know, we were all so caught up in the emotion of that final encounter and the various events that flowed from it in those immediate hours and days that I'm not sure we had the opportunity to thank you sincerely for doing what was not required of you, that being assisting us in the combat that came. I know you were offered the option to either join us or leave of your own free will, and we owe you a debt of gratitude for your decision to come with us.
She nods. And I owe you my life.
You owe me nothing. I merely returned to you what was improperly taken. But the sentiment is appreciated, and as has been the assistance. And I want you to know that if you ever have need of anything, please don't hesitate to ask me directly. I know this must be quite the change for you, and I like to think, anyway, that I'm available for those that need any sort of assistance or guidance in acclimating to such changes.
She nods. Doors are different, but we're figuring it out. My, before the tombs, my people were nomadic, you see. The only buildings we ever came into contact with were our own tents. This is strange. She, taps the floor with her foot. This is strange, but not bad. She nods.
Artoris kind of smiles, and I know it will be a very different way of life, but I assure you there are comforts of this way of living that I hope you come to appreciate and get used to. But I know if you ever long for the outdoors, there's plenty of that around here as well.
She nods. What are these Tiger Lords? Lots of folks talk about them here. Are you at war with were-tigers?
Not exactly. At least that's not my understanding. The Tiger Lords are a tribe of rather savage individuals to the northwest. Assuming, wait, is the map right? Yeah, the map's right.
Yeah.
Who have caused the people of this region plenty of hardship and heartache over the many years. Some of it rather personal to some individuals that you've met, including Senya and Ionia as well. It looks like those hostilities are on the horizon, but they, to my knowledge, are, for the most part, a rather straightforward, simple sort of foe. They very big, much bigger than me, much stronger than me physically, though probably not able to compete with you.
She kind of half smiles, taps her own bicep, which is sizable. Yeah. You, as if on cue, somebody walks into the inn who is their arm is not in a sling so much, but they're obviously they have hurt it in some way, and they're kind of holding it real close to him, walking with a limp. That guy thought he could out wrestle me. That guy was not smart.
Well, I've seen firsthand what a bad idea that would be.
So we have enemies far away. We have. She kind of leans in. What about all these? Well, the Fae. This is new. Folks are not the most comfortable. Oh, that's not true. The children are taking to it quite well.
Well, and kind of thinks about it. In many ways, the Fae are somewhat anathema to everything that I represent and that civilization represents. But I am reminded that there are tenets that are very important, more important maybe even than those very primal feelings that I have. Everybody, no matter who they are or what they are, should be afforded at least the opportunity to follow the laws of this kingdom and to find a place within it. And it was the collective wisdom of the council, and I believe it is the wish of Abadar to see that more enlightened perspective through. I'm hoping that with time and with guidance, these growing pains and these sort of turbulent times will work themselves out. I hope more direct and extreme measures aren't needed. Have you had any particular problems with anyone, or anything specific?
She shakes her head now. Not particularly.
that's good.
It's a nice enough place. The Fae are... I mean, from time to time you run into a wandering pixie in Uberia. Mostly it's giants or... Well, the farther north one gets, the colder it gets, the more... And she kind of like grabs a drink, downs it. There are things that move in the frozen parts of the world that make about as much sense as a couple of sprites go buzzing through the window, get little like thimbles of ale, and then buzz out. Yeah, no, like that, basically. But worse, scarier, more deadly. All in all, it's been pretty easy. I had a lot of time to deal with everyone I know being, well, you know. When I was helpless and paralyzed in a tomb. I suppose now I just want to move on to bigger and brighter. It's a chance to better myself, and I don't hate it.
Taurus gives a smile, and well, that's good to hear. It sounds like perhaps you have the tolerance then for the things that are afoot around here. I'll admit maybe my own patience has been buoyed somewhat by my temple being rather off limits to those with ill intent, and mostly spending my time there the past week or so. But it is good to know that even without such additional fortification, you're able to find some tolerance within yourself, and I look forward greatly to see what place Megaris might find for you, because I do truly believe in your potential and your spirit, as well as your sense of morality. You'd make a fine addition to any commanding force.
She kind of like, as you say what she says, what you say, like she's eating, and it slows as the words hit her. She just kind of smiles, nods. Thanks. I appreciate that.
And with that, Arturus would smile and then kind of give a slight bow, and then as I said, if you have need of me, you know where to find me. And
of course.
Have a good night. And then he'd signal to Arbiter that they're leaving and head back to the temple.
I'm getting like visions of like Senya sitting on Grom with like Zamantha, like her second in command, at the head of like a huge cavalry charge.
Ooh.
Yeah, the Fae division.
Boom! Fae division. Fae horses. Butterfly dragon horses. Go!
Gonna get Megaris to train the Fae division.
No, you leave that part to me.
Okay.
Because if Megaris trains him, we rapidly have the first Concordian Civil War. Oops.
Whoopsie.
Well, and you thought
I
it would be
accidentally
Calera.
did a civil war.
Oops. More
And
Civil
you
Wars.
thought it would be Calera.
And you thought it would be Calera. Well, all right. So all that happens. I get the floor still remains very open to y'all. Whatever it is you want
What
or
time-
need to do.
What time do we run until nowadays? I can't ever keep it
30
straight.
more minutes.
You got
30
30
minutes,
minutes.
okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. I knocked off.
I guess I might, as y'all decide. I'm very good at drinking too much caffeine on Sundays when I have to get up at 7 in the morning, and I've stayed up all night playing Among Us. So I'm gonna quick bio. We'll be right back while y'all figure it out.
Have left then can take place in the course of like 2 text RPs over the next 2 weeks.
Makes sense.
I have some stuff I need to work out with Tommy before we like time jump the year, but otherwise I'm pretty much good, I think.
It's
Our
called
next-
the.
Okay, fair enough. So I guess where does that
versus-
land us now, though?
Well, it's kind of a weird amount of time left because I think the next pit stop of like actual things happening would be whatever it is Kato and Ionia want to do with Brevoy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then from there, I don't know what happens after that. But like, speaking for myself, the only thing I have left for this year again is just the finishing these few items that. But like, if we wanted to do, did we want to do little things, Del? Like
You have the list.
So I want before we travel
explore
to
hexes and Tiger
before-
Lord Stronghold.
that's why I kind of suggested maybe we do a small fast forward of say 1 month, because before we go out to explore hexes, before I go to Brevoy, I want to have my gear up to actually in character up to date.
Right, same.
So over the time of like about a month, if Tommy's cool saying like a month can like essentially cover any like small like items crafted or purchased or acquired, and then the big items will RP. Like I know I've RP'd the crown already. I know there were a few other like key items that people wanted to RP, but otherwise the small stuff that isn't character significant could just be assumed to be like done over that month. Is that cool with Tommy?
We also,
Yeah,
we
works for
also
me.
need to have the discussion about the Constitution.
Yes.
Oh, right.
But I imagine that we'll, out of character, need to discuss that, which is why I didn't just jump
Yeah.
on that right away.
Yeah, I don't want to jump into that discussion. We'd be spinning around in circles trying to figure that out in session time. Is not the best use of, like right now where we're running in
Yeah.
circles.
Boom.
It's just such a strange amount of time left.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay, so we can bop forward a month. Everybody gets their stuff. Over the course of said month, I feel like my voice is much more echoey than it was a second ago, and I'm confused as to why. Maybe it's because my
Oh, can I do something cool with after the month?
Sure, that's the point of D&D. Do something cool. But over the course of the month,
So-
it takes to like catch up as Concordia moves. The auxiliary training is brutal and begins just like over the course of a week. As soon as everyone has figured out who's where, what's what, shifts basically are, well, not shifts, I guess. Yeah, no, shifts is a good way to put it. You show up for, if you presently didn't have a job, for 8 to 12 hours, depending, with various Megaris himself for a while, his retinue. Eventually folks are promoted from that to serve as like impromptu drill instructors. The goal seems to be just like, y'all know what you're doing, y'all know what your fighting style is, let's help you organize it a little bit. Also, we're gonna whip all of you into shape really, 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 really hard right now. Folks are like, when their time in training is done, generally speaking, you go home and you just pass out and you're done for the rest of that day into the next one, or it's like go to Oleg's and we're just gonna drown our sorrows at the boar's head. at first there is a little bit of pushback. There are a couple of events where like at the night someone will like take out their anger in a drunken disorderly outside of Oleg's, basically. That gets handled pretty fast. And in the intervening month, and not even the intervening month, in like a week and a half or so after folks begin to acclimate to it, the training regimens become considerably easier. Everyone gets a lot better at what it is they're doing, and also is given the basic, like, should it fall to the considerably younger or considerably older, generally speaking, to like, you're going to stand on the wall. If you don't, Concordia burns. This is how to make a basic shield wall. This is how to protect your friends with that shield. This is a good, like, attacking formation with a sword. This is, are you left-handed? Stand on this side. You can put your shield on the right to form essentially like an attacking testudo. I don't know if anyone knows what that means. Roman tortoise formation. Yeah. There are several folks are scouted for like officer training. Zamantha is fast-tracked and takes it. There's not really a formal cavalry force put together, mostly because of the terrain in which Concordia sits is not very conducive to it. We're mostly looking at like defend small choke points in the forests with blocks of infantry, archers fire into like the melee sort of thing, and Zamantha becomes one of the like what starts as like head of the couriers rapidly turns into head of the skirmishers. Some of the Fae do enlist at first just to like curiosity killed the Sylvanshi, right? Several of them wash out. Several of them wash out and are never seen again. Those that do stick make it's awkward to see like a satyr in the like the sigildry of Concordia, but like here are the horns that have been like a spot in the helm has been cut out so the horns can whip and the helmet fits, or like hooves, not greaves. But when it does pan out, all of you notice, this is also true of eventually like not all of the Iruxi, but some of them do relent and like show up for training. They are almost always put like front and center of formations and seem to be, it's hard to tell exactly what Megaris is going for, but based on what like skirmishes, or not skirmishes, we shouldn't say that. Skirmish sounds much more rough. What scrimmages, if you will, happen between like two units, the goal is to put the Iruxi and the Fae just front and center in most conflicts.
Oh.
Is that because he is valuing them less? Possibly. It could also be because the Fae literally like slings and arrows bounce off them. There's a weird middle line there that it's hard to tell exactly what Megaris is trying to do with them.
Makes sense to me. Iruxi are big and tough and make great.
As far as those who serve just in the auxiliaries go, their style of fighting runs counter to what Megaris is familiar with and what his formations train against, whereas your organized shield walls are everyone protect each other. This is how we fight. It is very effective. Your average Iruxi warrior is more like the physical prowess of the individual. So there's a little bit of like run in from there, and truly when you're head and shoulders taller than the people to the left and right of you, it's a little awkward to, here is this thing, we're going to use this thing to block for everyone, but Johnny the Iruxi's up here and I have to raise my arm to cover for him, sort of deal. Generally speaking, they are, with the exception of the shorter ones, left to just, here's a bow, you know how to shoot, or you know how fighting is, we're just going to make sure you stay in the best shape of your life as long as we can. The Fae Concords work out mostly well. There are some that don't seem to understand the concepts of like why laws are important or why order is important and just think you're being assertive for the sake of being assertive, and so they dip out immediately. Some just see it as an idle curiosity. Some are, frankly, Jubilost's main strategy is stay here and you're going to get a lot of food, and food is really cool. Here's a moon radish, and the moon radish defense is perfect. So, on the whole, the most of the Fae population integrates pretty well. Some of the buildings that have been just like one man's, there's a giant vine through my house, this house is beyond repair, oh no, becomes another man's, well, now we're going to let the Fae live here because it is more conductive to their way of living, sort of thing. Oh, what else happens in a month? Y'all, good.
Oh, I was just going to say, with the month, I also want to, as I had mentioned, be working on, working with the fairy dragons to get them, to get them all trained up and kind of, try to hone their tendencies towards something productive rather than just pure chaos. And I also want to be keeping an eye on the Iruxi settlement and Megaris specifically, as well as somebody had recently mentioned something about the hags, right? Was that the ghost?
The Defaced Sisters, yes, they are. They seem to have integrated really hard into Armag's inner circle, and Dugoth was concerned that they were manipulating him.
Okay, so since that had been kind of brought to light again recently, I also want to make sure that we're keeping an eye out for any signs of their infiltration, similar to before. Makes
sense. You don't really come upon anything as far as like cultist infiltration of the area itself. The Iruxi village, as the year ticks and it becomes time to this is where we go to have our children hatch, they do universally make their way there. There's probably a bit of flack from Megaris about why are these people shirking their duty to the place, and y'all are able to explain that he begrudgingly allows it to happen. They seem to be fine. Dazia never returns over the month. They don't really...
that's mostly kind of what I'm trying to keep an eye out for, is I'm a little suspicious about what's going on with Dazia, so I'm trying to see if anybody maybe is acting suspicious as well, or might have some...
Were you going to continue to try and scry on her every day until you got through? Because she resisted it last time.
That's fair. So then in that case, after a week's worth of attempts, you're a very smart cookie, and after it just continues to fail and fail and fail and fail and fail, that either means that Dazia is dead or Dazia is currently being kept captive in such a place where scrying could not penetrate. Yeah, exactly. Or there's a couple of other things that can stop it, but yeah, that would work too.
Got it.
I'll share that with the group. The Fairy Dragon Spy Regiment works out pretty darn well. It doesn't take long for them to understand the concepts of here is a hierarchy, follow this is my leader. It ends up being mostly just Perlavash and you, but they are damned effective at what they do. Just bopping around to everybody else, see if there's anything I need to land on. I guess so far as the Hell Knight recruiting goes, it does happen. It's slow and seems to mostly work via the rumor mill. Dare I say, when the posters were put up, the damage was done. Folks know that they're recruiting, word spreads, and people who are interested in the absolute here is law, I want this, or several of the men and women of age in Thornburg who watched someone show up at their home and blow up a building would like to not see that happen again. Some of the native Kelid tribes that have washed into the region as the Black Stags run them down, or excuse me, as the Tiger Lords run them down.
I was like, whoa!
The path of chaos begins! Oh shit, it's actually you! You're the Tiger Lord! Carol, goddamn Baskin. At some point I'll watch that show. But they all do sign up. Almost all of the Sword Bros are at least scouted for officer duty within the army, and several of them, whether this is for their own, like, another feather in their cap, or just to, like, not have to stand with the rank and file, they do accept and they excel at it. They have been practicing their own individual, like, sword play for most of their adult lives, and their education would also come with a certain degree of like learning about wars of the past and strategies that worked really well in certain battles and so on and so forth, kind of thing. Suppose also, like, as far as the you show up once a week, if you're not if you have to work 5 days a week to keep the country running, you show up 1 day a week. That has so far, unless somebody wants to intervene, they begrudgingly go, Bakken and Jubilost, just kind of to make ends, or not make ends meet, but like to keep appearances, to this is the where the world is going, this is what we want, this is what the king wants, and so we will sign up for it. Oleg and Svetlana both show up. They're kind of like right at the we're almost too old line, but not quite there. Those are expected to more like, they're essentially your National Guard. For 1 weekend out of the month, they are on duty. They are kept in shape-ish kind of thing. Hell Knight Order itself, probably in the course of a month, I'm going to say it triples, but there was only like half a dozen of them. And basically that just lands on the order of everybody has a couple of squires, they're armigers, that they are responsible for. And there are several of them are openly, well, not openly, maybe openly one time and then stopped the next day, and you just never hear it again, complaining that there's no way for them to ever take that final test once they learn that the final test involves the summoning of a devil, given that no one here seems to have the ability to pull that off. There's no word from Restov about anything. The Tiger Lords are, for all intents and purposes, appear to have fallen off the face of the earth. And yeah, 1 month passes.
3 minutes to go.
3 minutes to go. Maybe we cut it there. I feel like that's not the worst ending point.
Yeah, seems like a nice clean.
I had a real quick post-year scene that should take 30 seconds to a minute, I'm hoping.
Post-year?
So,
do we want to spend the whole
post-month,
year?
post-month.
I
Okay.
got him.
So Cato enters his chamber with a blanket over, like some blankets and cloth hanging over an object that he's carrying in his hands. As he enters the room, the little dragon wormling jumps up. He has been spending the past little while, recovering from his wounds, from his massive eye wound. There is a piece of cloth draped over his eye, where his eye used to be. Cato sits down next to him and says, "Wow, you look to be in better spirits today. How you feeling, buddy?"
I don't know if this is a me roleplay or a you roleplay.
Sure. Whatever.
He kind of just...
I say that in Draconic.
He just kind of like looks your direction. He's growing really fast. He's no mechanical changes, but probably gained like 5 pounds and is about like an inch or two longer. Just, when are we going somewhere? This place is the same.
I know. Don't worry. We will be on our next adventure before too long. However, in the meantime, because you fought so valiantly at the battle, I got you something very, very special. And
at the
Cato,
notion of he is getting treasure, his eye lights up. Just treasure? Is it food? Gold? Golden food? Both. Give me both. Dad.
Cato removes the cloth and blankets from the object, exposing a bright, shining helmet, specifically forged to the dimensions and shape of Prince's head with a one of the eye sockets of the helmet is open as per normal. The other has a little insert in it, sort of a, I don't know how to describe it, like almost like a placeholder eye, so to speak. The item hums with magic as he sets it down in front of Prince. I do have a plan for your injury that you suffered, your missing eye, but it is going to have to wait a little while longer. In the meantime, I hope this serves you well.
Prince is just like, you've sat it down. He takes it in his front claws and is like cuddling it, also trying to sit on it. It's a weird kind of results in him just wrestling with the helmet.
What I bought for go ahead.
I was just gonna say,
he what
tries to eat it at some point, like tries to like bite the top. Okay, all you hit it.
I was gonna say what I bought for Prince was an item that Kalira wanted way back in the day, but never had the opportunity to get. As Prince is a scary boy, he now has his very own maiden's helm, though forged and flavored in the image of a frightening draconic helmet.
Forged and flavored in the fires of dragons. Okay, cool, fair enough. I guess as a final thing, that as I stare at the map and I realize this should probably happen, as soon as there is a formal military unit that Vigaris is competent, will stand and not just like run at the side of the enemy. About couple hundred of them, led by one of his own, like his second, who doesn't have a name but will soon, is sent to Ashgard to garrison it. As they go, they probably can't get it all done in about a month, but their first task as they're moving is to just begin to make space for a road between the fort and there. It's as they are going, that is, the work day is just constantly move forward, clearing paths, chopping trees, machetes, making big work everywhere. Ashgard's garrison is like, folks come back and forth from there on a semi-regular basis as like shifts are rotated out, and that's usually where like military training and like formal exercises are happening, like in something like this region, just like within the swamp and the area that most people in Concordia are expected to be defending. With that, we will pick up what I imagine is a short amount of RP into the next bear, if you will. It's not a tiger, though. It's a... Damn it.
Not different yet.
I played myself. It's not the Tiger Lords. It's the Bear Lords. They're coming for you now. I'm rambling. That's where we're going to call it for here. Thank you all for watching. I don't say this enough. I should remember, through the power of patronage, not only can you have access to a bunch of like great RP channels where a lot of stuff for this story happens, you also could give me the power to conscript all of your forces and make them as swift as a coursing river. Till then, we'll see you next time. Say bye, y'all.
See y'all.
Bye.